Seattle, as you might guess, is the largest district in the state, and we have about 50,000 students, 150 different languages, lots of different student backgrounds.
Our teachers are super amazing. They're really dedicated to supporting their students that are presenting varied needs, different home languages, different kinds of math needs.
We are such a large, diverse district, and that's what makes the district so great is how diverse we really are. We have such a strong community where my students in my class are not just mine. Like, we really treat every student like they're ours, which I think just helps with the school community and the classroom community, and therefore overflows into the math community as well.
We found ourselves in a place where we didn't have coherent instruction across our schools. We didn't have a standards-aligned, district-adopted curriculum.
Everybody was sort of just piecing together what worked for them in their classroom. And while that can work for some teachers in some buildings, it's just really not equitable for kids.
So our district created a new strategic plan at the end of 2019. And so one of the strategic plan goals was around 5th grade and 7th grade math outcomes. And we realized that if we were going to try to meet our goals for math, we needed to do something about what was happening in K-5, because we weren't going to be able to change the student outcomes unless we had some kind of foundational expectations and standards aligned, rigorous instructional materials, because we didn't have that. So when we learned that we were going to be able to finally select some instructional materials, we revised our framework to really make it clear about what we thought was important in a math classroom. And so some of those things are that we believe that students should engage in math routines, like number talks or choral counts every day. And that there should be a part of the lesson that is whole group instruction, and that teachers should engage with formative assessment and then use that to do some differentiated small group instruction. Students should have time to work independently and or with partners so that they can practice what they've learned. And each day's lesson should have some kind of a wrap up and closure to make the learning stick. That helped inform what we were going to look for when it was time for us to finally select new materials. And so we went through the adoption process, and we used our framework to help us decide, to evaluate the different materials that were submitted. It's really important in our district to engage our community and family members in the adoption process. We did a needs assessment at the beginning, and we got, I want to say, like 2,500 community and family responses to that, which is, yes, we're a huge district, but that's a lot of input we got.
We convened very strategically in different parts of the city and inviting multilingual families and teams of translators as well. So we held 3 sessions where we invited those families to examine the 3 different curriculum, and then we asked for their feedback. And kids gave their direct feedback. They shared some of their experiences across the district in their current children's classrooms with not knowing what they were doing or realizing that there were different things happening and how alarming that was. But then through that process, it supported the committee's process.
And our result was to end up choosing enVision as our instructional materials. But our leadership really wanted to make sure that we had aligned intervention materials as well, having not done that in some other content areas and finding that was problematic. And so after we completed the enVision adoption, we went back and also purchased Success Maker and Math Screener and Diagnostic Assessment Momentum Math. One of the things that was very important to leadership is that we had a solid professional development plan. Our Savvas partners really partnered with us to design the professional development. We linked it to our strategic plan, to our focus on students further from educational justice, to our multilingual learners. My team did some of the professional development. Savvas partners did professional development, but we co-designed it for educators.
We felt like it was so important for every teacher first to know why. So why is everyone using the same curriculum and all students being taught grade level content? Why is that important? So we talked about equity. We talked about kind of the big ideas around just making sure that students were having high quality math learning experience, regardless of what classroom or what school building that they happen to be in. But in the first year, we spent all of our time really making sure students understood the enVision lesson structure. So then in year 2, we continue to stress the structure, but tried to zoom in a little more on what the teacher can do. And we expanded the tools that we shared. And this year, I think more people are ready for it.
The way I structured enVision in my room is small groups in the morning. And then right after small groups, I did my whole group instruction. For whole group, I would do solve and share, visual learning. And those two, I think, were like really great for fostering student discourse. And then the independent practice was where we could really like get into it. I would use how we did on the independent practice, and I would create groups for the next day. So I was changing my math groups every single day. I was able to use that independent practice and a couple of those like formative assessments to quickly catch those gaps and reteach, pre-teach, just do some additional practice with kids. And so then the next day, do small groups. I would often use the reteaching pages or the building literacy. The enrichment was great for students who weren't with me. Often use pick a project and Success Maker. There's so many things within enVision. That was one of the most amazing things where I'm like, yes, I don't have to go look for other things. I don't have to go searching for something to use for these students who are struggling with X, Y, and Z because it's there and it's great.
I think one of the things that is most exciting to see is so many students talking about math. Students are sharing their math ideas, whether they're like complete ideas or ideas in progress. They feel comfortable in sharing them and feel empowered to be mathematicians.
Our team's goal was to get more student voice into the math classroom, which is through the solve and share. And so I feel like that was really successful because when we go and visit classrooms, we see kids talking. We see them up at the board describing their thinking. That's really exciting. And then the classrooms we go into, people are using the curriculum. Kids are able to answer questions like, what are you learning today? What are you working on? So I think that's a huge success.
As kids get older, like our 5th graders this year who now had enVision since 3rd grade, they're able to have those conversations. They're able to agree and disagree and maybe dig a little deeper in the problem solving. It comes down to building a strong math community. And that's not just about the lessons and the equations and the strategies. It's about how we talk about math. It's about how we feel about math and how we overcome mistakes and celebrate mistakes and celebrate differences in our mathematical thinking. And so I think that's the foundation that we want to create so that more students can feel successful in math. And so I think that's like at the foundation of a lot of the work that we're doing.
I'm excited to see what happens with these students in a few years of having something consistent. The transition to middle school for students can be so challenging, but to be able to transition to a math class, hey, I know how to do this, and this is familiar to me, and I was a good mathematician in elementary school, and I know how to talk about math and like just what that's going to mean for their math success in the future.